So, if you are a solo traveler and you're looking for a cost efficient way to travel and not, go over your budget and you don't really want to stay in a hostel and share a room with like 10 other people, Airbnb is definitely the right choice for you. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to find the perfect Airbnb, especially if you're a female solo traveler. And you'll want to stick till the end because I'm going to give you tips on what to do if your Airbnb host cancels at the last minute, or you arrive to your Airbnb and it's not what you had expected. That has happened to me in Cuba. And so I'm going to give you like a plan B and a plan C to help you out of those situations. So if you like the content, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. And a little bit about me before we jump into things. My name is Kirsten, and I am a money mindset coach for Black women, and I help women to manifest more money so that they can create a life that they love. And so I've also been a solo traveler for the past 5 or 6 years and living abroad for the past 4 years. So I'm going to share with you my personal experience with Airbnb in hopes that you can have an equally or even greater rewarding experience with Airbnb. I have used Airbnb over 20 different times internationally and nationally. I've used it in New York City, I've used it in Chicago, Costa Rica, Panama, Spain, Portugal, and it's been 9 out of 10 times Cuba. A great experience, and definitely have made friends through Airbnb. I have been able to kind of get like local insights and get to explore the country that I was staying in a different way. Had I had gone to maybe like a hotel or a hostel, I definitely would have had a different experience. So, tip number 1, when you're looking into Airbnbs, the most important thing, and take your time with this, really and truly, I should say that's tip number 1, taking your time and looking for Airbnbs. I don't think this is a process that should be rushed. It's something that should, take your time with it. Grab a cup of tea, grab some coffee, get your favorite snack, put on some music, and just really sit and look through the process. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is to look at the pictures and read the reviews. Do not skip over this. When you're looking at the pictures, you want to make sure, you want to ask yourself, okay, what are they not showing? Because a lot of times you're going to see like a part of the bedroom, or you're going to see like maybe one part of the bed, or a lot of the times a lot of Airbnb hosts will take pictures of like the decor of like a picture or a picture frame or like a plant, which is nice, but you want to make sure that you're getting the whole picture. You want to be able to see the size of the room. You want to see if there's natural lighting. You want to see how big the bed is. You want to see the door. You want to see every aspect of the room. So look at the pictures and also read the reviews. Read as much of the reviews as you can read the good reviews and the bad reviews. Usually my rule of thumb is I like to stay with anyone that has at least a 4 out of 5 rating. I tend to not stay with like places that have a lower rating than that. And read the reviews, the good and the bad, and see what are people saying. See what they specifically say about the location. If they talk about the noise level, if they talk about the host, if they talk about other roommates. Really look and see what are the people saying about the place. Tip number 2 is you want to first and foremost know what you're looking for in a place, know what your needs are. For me, I have to have a place that has natural lighting. Lighting is so crucial to me. There's definitely some rooms don't have, because sometimes people just rent like the spare room of their house, or they're like, extra, like their closet that they turned into a room, which is fine if that's what they want to do, and that can work for some people. But I personally need like a room with natural lighting and things like that. Do you need Wi-Fi? I personally need Wi-Fi whenever I stay at a place. Do you want a place that's centrally located? Do you need a place that's quiet? Knowing what your needs are before you start searching for a place, and it will help you to make the process of searching for a place a lot faster and help you eliminate places that aren't suited for your personal needs or comfort. Tip number 3 is communication. I always, before I book any place, I've never booked a place without communicating to the host first. And I think this is really important because you kind of get to feel how the host is like. Are they attentive? Are they going to answer your questions? And how dedicated are they to being your host? And so I always reach out to the host before I stay with anyone. And sometimes I'll ask more simple questions of just like, what's the speed of the Wi-Fi? Are there any, I look for anything that might not be in the description, and I try to ask questions about that insight. And what I like about messaging the host first is what happens is they can pre-approve you. So what that does, if you're still looking at Airbnbs and you're not really quite sure which Airbnb to choose, if they pre-approve you because you had a conversation and they like you, then they kind of put your reservation on hold for 24 hours. So it kind of gives you a little wiggle room so you don't have to feel like you're rushed, and you can kind of have 24 hours to make a decision without the risk of losing your reservation, because that can happen. I think this is new. Airbnb did a thing where the host will not know your ethnicity, or I don't know if they will know your I think they have a blank picture, so they're not going to know how you look until they accept your reservation, which I think is great. So you don't have to worry about being discriminated. Hopefully it still might happen, but it's because of this new shift in Airbnb, it's less likely for you to get rejected because of your ethnicity or your cultural background or your gender. Tip number 4 is location. So I always like to make sure that I book places where there are like supermarkets nearby, or there's a metro nearby, or bus stations if I'm living, because a lot of the times you might put in a city, like a major city, like, I don't know, Cancun, and you might get Cancun, but also you might get listings that are like outside of Cancun. Same thing happened to me in Barcelona. Like I booked an Airbnb for Barcelona, but it was kind of on the outside of Barcelona, but luckily there was like metros and buses and trains. So if I wanted to go into the center of Barcelona, into like where all the action was, it was very easy to get there. And I personally like to sometimes stay outside of the city because it can be a little bit quieter and I can go into the city when I want. But really think about location, and something that you can, going back to communication, is asking, about getting to that place at night. Especially as a solo traveler, you want to make sure that the location of your Airbnb is a safe place, especially at night when you're walking back. So a lot of the ways that you can make sure that the location is safe, you can ask the host, you can go on Facebook groups and looking at the area, because you're not going to know the exact address of the place until you actually book the reservation, but you can get a general idea of the area. Airbnb will show you that, and you can go on Facebook groups or just go online and kind of Google the area to know how the neighborhood is before booking your Airbnb. Tip number 5 is to read the cancellation policy. Some cancellation policies are lenient. I think they have like flexible and strict and something else. So a lot of the times, if you need to cancel your trip, if something happens unexpectedly and you need to cancel, some cancellation policies will allow you to cancel and get a full refund up until a certain date. Some cancellation policies you can cancel the day of and get a full refund. Some you cannot. Some it's like you book it and that's it. Your money is theirs. So I hope you you enjoyed those 5 tips. Those are things that I use almost every single time I book an Airbnb. And like I mentioned before, I have had wonderful times. I've had hosts make me breakfast and give me like inside tips on places to go and where to, have the more local experience. One of my Airbnb hosts actually was my birthday, and he made me a cake and bought me balloons for my birthday, and we are still friends till this day. So I continue to have wonderful experiences with Airbnbs, and again, it's cost efficient. So I'm going to give you some tips on what to do if your host cancels on you at the last minute, or you just get to your Airbnb and it's not what you expect it to be. I will say that when it comes to price range, I have noticed if you get a place for around $10 or $15 a night is reasonable, but it's going to be very basic and very, very bare minimum. If you get a place for around $30 or $40 a night, you're going to be staying in like a fancier type of place, not as fancy as a hotel, but it's definitely going to be a place where it feels a little bit more elegant, a little bit more upper class. And then obviously if you do like $50 a night or something like that, it's going to be closer to a hotel. So that's one thing to consider when you're looking at price ranges of places. Another tip on pricing is that if you book longer stays, you can often get a discount. There's often like between a 5% and 10% discount if you stay for a week rather than like 3 days, or if you stay for a month. That has definitely, when I moved abroad, that was definitely a way that I was able to save on money. It's because I would book places for a month stay rather than like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and I was able to get a better price. So what to do if, things don't go as expected. So to your plan B. So when you're booking your Airbnb, make sure that you kind of have like your number 1 and your number 2. I think that'll help in case something happens and your Airbnb's host cancels. With the backup plan, again, if you don't have another Airbnb that you can go to, make sure that you have like a list, or on deck you have hotels or hostels in the area nearby. So in case you get there and it's not what you expect, you kind of know, okay, there's a hostel up the street or there's a hotel up the street. I can at least stay there for the night. I think that, be a good guest is my final tip. And Airbnb host actually can rate their guests, attendees, guests. And so it can make the process a lot easier if you are a good guest and you follow the rules. There are a lot of house rules sometimes. If you're respectful, it can make the process easier for when you're looking for another host for another trip, because hosts can deny you. It'll help you to get instantly booked and things like that. So be a good guest, get your account verified, and that can make the process a lot easier. So I hope you enjoyed this content. If it was helpful for you, please give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button, and you'll get more videos from me on not only manifesting money, but on solo travel and how to just have the best experience while traveling.